All right, I've already swapped out my rear end, but I thought I would start with this and maybe it would help you understand how I had to get it out. This is the rear end facing the back side of the car. So these are the brackets that hold it to the subframe. What I ended up doing, and you'll see in the video, is there was not room to get to. There's a bolt that goes through the subframe into this bracket. Well, there's the spare tire well is in the way and you can't get to this bolt. At least I couldn't. So I was able to remove these three. So great, I can remove these three and this side will come out. But on this side, the subframe is actually in the way of this bolt and won't let that bolt come out. So you can't remove the bracket, but you can access the bolt of this side through the subframe. So on the driver's side, all I needed to do was remove the bolt that was going through the subframe, and this side is free from the car. Obviously I have these front bolts that need to come out, but those are much easier. On this side, I needed to remove the bracket. Once I removed this side, I was able to rotate this down, which made these a little easier, especially, I think it was this one that was a little hard, or maybe didn't want to quite clear the subframe, but it would once I got this out, got the other four out, and was able to just rotate this. So hopefully this little explanation here shows you what I'm accomplishing as I remove this rear end. And then obviously it went right back in reverse. I had to mount this bracket before I started, leave this bracket. This bracket was still never removed from the car. It was still on the car, and then put the bolts back in when I got back in. All right, I hope the video helps. Well, I got a 2013 Ford Flex and the rear differential is gone bad. Really just I'm gonna try to put a how-to video together. I removed the brake, complete housing for the brake caliper and everything. So that's where I'm at to now. I've got to get the axle nuts off. I did drop the exhaust. It was real easy. Thankfully, I have a Southern car, so just removed that one clamp, and then there were 4 hangers. So I was able to get that down pretty easily. And so my next step, get some light under here. I'm going to loosen this torsion sway bar, whatever it's called back here, and then start to remove these bearings. Hopefully you can see how clean the underside of this car is. It's got about 130,000 miles on it, but it's been in the South. Hopefully those bearings will come out pretty easily, but here's what I'm trying to replace. If we're looking from the front of the car toward the rear, there's where the drive shaft's going into the rear differential. I definitely see where I've leaked. There's something going on right there. But anyhow, I'll keep documenting it, how I get it out of here. But definitely the exhaust had to come out. That exhaust pipe was right in the middle of this drive shaft. So that's where I've started. I'll just keep filming and hopefully someone else can get some value out of this. All right, I've got this side, got the bearing out. I'm very blessed because it really came out easy. You can tell I don't have rust on this car. It's not a northern car. But let me walk you through what this looks like, and we'll do this on the other side. But so here's, obviously that's, the outside, the outer side. Here is the bearing itself, and you can see where the splines, where the axle runs through it. And then you see the threaded bolt holes So there are 4 bolts that actually hold this on and press it into the knuckle. So the bolts come through these 4 holes right here. Now they're not threaded, right? When that bolt is coming through, it's going to pull that inside of that bearing into here. Obviously pulling it onto the axle, but it's going to seat it inside the knuckle. Well, several guys' videos, and one particular guy I appreciate, said back these 4 bolts out, not off though, back them out and leave them where there's still enough meat. Let me grab one of these. So what you're looking at is, I would leave a good portion of this in here, but not the whole thing. And what that's going to do on the back side of that knuckle, let me show you. Oh, let me grab my light. Show you on the driver's side. You can see that. So those are still in, but they're not flush against the knuckle anymore. You can barely see it. But then I took my little 2-pound hammer and a socket extension that I didn't care a whole lot about, and started hitting on those. What that was doing, you can see it, it started pushing. You see the separation right there. It started pushing that bearing out, away from the knuckle, and it started seating it. So I'm still attached, or still threaded into those 4 bolt holes, but I'm using those bolts to push as I hit, and it's hard, but get the right angle to knock that out. And frankly, they came out with ease. I just now finished removing the screws and got that guy out. I did leave the nut on the axle just so I didn't drop the bearing. But anyhow, I'm progressing, but that's how I got these out. Now, there are videos on how to get that bearing out if you're dealing with, it's really corroded right in here, and these two are seized together. But if you're not dealing with them seized together, it's really easy just to hit the backside of those bolts. Again, see how much thread I've still got in there, so I'm not damaging the bearing or the bolt, but I'm just hit it, a couple good whacks, and it just started coming out. All right, let me continue to progress. I'll get this side off, and then I think our next move is going to be to get the axles out, and I'm not going to probably film much of that because that's just going to be a matter of wedging a screwdriver, or pry bar I should say, right up against here, if I can get that in there, and just pushing that out. And it should come out, I believe it'll come out through the knuckle. And then release these bolts on this torsion bar or sway bar, whatever it's called. Get that out of the way. I've got to get the drive shaft off, and I'm gonna have to put the car in neutral to be able to do that, to rotate it. But that's where I'm gonna progress to next. All right, I'm working on the drive shaft. These are, you can see them, star bits. Pretty long, about 1.5 inches. I do have these little, I don't know, there's 3 of these little spacers or connectors or whatever they're doing. Anyhow, nothing complicated here, although I am gonna have to get in the car and put it in neutral to rotate and get the other 3. I can get 3 on bottom and then rotate it. But that's what I'm working on next. All right, I'm not defeated, but I'll just walk you through. It's really tight because, you know, the flex has, well, I guess these are, one of these is probably a gas tank right here, but you got well, no, these are the floor tubs for the rear seating, the 3rd row seating. So, you know, it's real tight. There's right here, as you can see, well, let me give you an orientation. I'm on the back of the car, coming in from the rear of it. So there's a center mounting point. So there's my drive shaft up there. So there's 2 bolts right here. They're 15 millimeters. And then there's 2 on this side, and that will that's the middle section. Now there's the rear section. Let me switch my light. There's 3 bolts right there. That's kind of a C-shaped bracket. See the 3 heads right there? Yeah, they're 15s as well. So what I'm gonna do is try to get the top 2 out, get all 4 of these guys out, and then top 2 on the other side, which will leave me just these 2 bottom rear ones. When I get to that point, I'm gonna put a jack underneath it and get it out of here, knock on wood. Now there is, you see right there, there's a wire harness that's gotta come off, and I think there's a vent tube up there as well. Yeah, you can see the vent tube is just behind the wiring harness. See it up there? So that's gonna come off the wiring harness. I need to go ahead and probably do those. But it's tight back here. I wanted to take these guys out and just slip that hole right there and slip that whole bracket out. But there's no room. This one's easy, but this one would have been real hard to get to. And then there's 2 more up there. So, but let me tell you, my battery powered electric ratchet would not touch those things. I did, thank God, have my old, I hadn't used it in a long time, air ratchet. You're definitely gonna need one with a lot of torque to get those bolts out. All right, I'm gonna keep on going. All right, I ran into an issue. This rear bolt that's on this kind of C bracket, there's not room for it to come out. It hits the subframe. So this side, I think I'm good. I think I can get this side out without any issue. So what I'm gonna do is I've already got the front. I'm gonna come around back. I can easily access this. It's a T55. I cannot access that one, but I'm gonna access that one, which will hopefully allow this whole thing to kind of come down, and I can get my wrench back out, which is stuck because it's a one-way ratchet wrench. You have to flip it over to go back in, and I'm out, and I can't get it off. So I hate to admit that stupidity, but that's what's going on. Anyhow, hopefully I can get that out, and it'll allow this thing to rotate down, or from our standpoint, counterclockwise. Let's see. All right, pulling that out definitely worked. It allowed me to rotate it like I needed to. I got my wrench back out. I've still got that bracket on there, but I don't have to remove that till I get on the ground. So this one, like I said, I could not reach, but I have gone ahead and removed the lower one. Now I had to rotate it back around to get this bolt here to clear the frame. And then once I did that, I've gone ahead and pulled the top one out. So this is right now the only thing that's holding the differential in is this guy right here. So I'm about to pull him, and then this bracket will remain in place because again, I can't get it out because of the tub back here. I'm certain this job would require somebody to pull the subframe, which would make no sense if you don't have to, at least in my mind. A good mechanic may say, no, it's real easy, but to me, pulling a subframe seems like a whole lot of work. Anyhow, I'm just letting it drip, and then I'm gonna pull it down, and hopefully I'm ready to go back the other way. Okay, being a little ignorant as to how this came out, this is what the end of the front side of the differential looks like, where the drive shaft mounts. And you can see on the drive shaft, like it's got a, I don't know, what do you call that, a cup, whatever, that fits in there. And in hindsight, I probably should have gone ahead and taken this center support, drive shaft support out and gotten that out while it was still firmly in place. It wasn't hard. I just have to tap it with my 2-pound hammer, and it finally broke free. But there's the drive shaft out. Just 4 bolts
holding it, that center shaft in. And this is still supported here in the middle, right underneath probably the driver's seat. So we're still good. But I'm ready to take my last bolt out and drop this thing down. Well, I got her out. Just like I had hoped when I pulled that one bolt out, she was ready to go. But I would not do this without a transmission jack of some kind to support it. It's, I don't know, it's probably 40 pounds, but that's a lot of weight over your head. And obviously it's going to come crashing down. So there it is. I'm picking up the new one, the junkyard one tomorrow, and hopefully it's in good shape. All right, I'm going back up with the new used rear end. I'm waiting on my seals to come in. They're hopefully going to come in tomorrow, but I took a 3/4 inch chisel with the wedge side down, chipped it underneath each side, and was able to pry the seals up. And if you'll go back in the video, you'll see that this guy right here can move. It can turn clockwise. So my goal is to get this bolt back into this center hole first. Then I'm gonna get the other two in. And then on the driver's side, I already have the bracket on. You see it, it's already on. So once the passenger side is in, I should be able to get this bolt from the rear. And I have this bracket here. This is what this is what the bracket looks like. So the rear has that hole in it. So I'll get that one bolt. That's all I have to do to get the back side of this rear end back in place. And then I should hopefully be able to get the 4 bolts that mount to the front flange in. And then hopefully get my drive shaft back in place. All of that while I'm waiting for these seals to come. And I hope I'm not, well, I gotta be able to access those seals because the drive shaft's gotta go in there. So I've just got them loosely in there. The real question is, how easy will it be to pound the new ones in? But that's what I'm working on. Well, my seals came in for my axles, and I just thought I'd show you guys the difference in the two. This is actually the part number for what's on mine, but here's the alternative part number. And if I can get these open, you can clearly see the difference in the seals and how they're made. So you see the protruding lip on that one. That's the one that's not in my car, or on the rear end. And then this one's still wrapping, but and see how this one looks. It's actually got a metal lip. So let's see if I can get them side by side. All right, where did it go? Well, it's laying right here. Oh, there it is. So, see how, man, I'm sorry guys. See if I can get these side by side, but you see where the flange is on the seal, the one in the upper part of the screen, that's metal pointing to the left, and this one actually is rubber pointing to the left. So completely different setup altogether. Again, I have the upper one in there, and of course it's more expensive. And if you go to O'Reilly's, they're about $50 a piece. I did get these off of Rock Auto for about $25 a piece, and then I did pay a little extra to have them shipped to me overnight because I didn't want to wait for them. But anyhow, those are the two that are on there. And again, this is the one that is on my car. Well, I didn't shoot the end of the installation of that, but hopefully you'll see how to remove the differential without dropping that subframe. That was really my whole point of shooting this video, was that it could be done, that you didn't have to go through all removing coils or anything else like that, coil springs, but you could actually just rotate the differential out and remove it. It really wasn't bad at all, as long as you hopefully have the ability to get underneath your car safely. I hope this helps you. I wished I could have filmed the whole thing going back together, but frankly, I just did not have time to do all of that. Anyhow, hopefully this helps.